Yo, 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 brother A to Z.
Hello and welcome to Shuffling Notes. I am your co-host Prankit,
And I'm your co-host Razi.
and this is a channel where we discuss and take a deep dive into different artists, albums, concerts, and just talk about music in general. So, what do we have today, Razi?
Today we'll be discussing one of our favorite singers, Jason Mraz, and his album Mr. A to Z.
Yeah, Mr. A to Z for those of us in the UK. So as you said, we've both been fans of Jason Mraz's music for a while. I'm curious to hear what was the first song that you remember hearing of Jason Mraz, or perhaps hearing this album in particular?
From this album, the first song was "Did You Get My Message?" There's a funny story to that, and Jason Mraz's first song was the Details in the Fabric is the first song that I had. It was in search of his more songs such as Details in the Fabric when I started exploring Jason
Yeah,
Mraz.
for me, I'd say like the first song was probably "I'm Yours." It's probably same for a lot of people. That's the song I heard, and that's when I sort of found out about Jason Mraz as an artist. Like I'm sure I probably heard his older songs before, but I hadn't registered him as like a
Mhm.
specific artist that's making these songs. But in this album, I think specifically, I'd probably say "Geek in the Pink" was the first song I heard. So yeah, I mean, just to sort of give a bit more context, this was his second studio album released in July of 2005. Although, I'd say I probably wasn't listening to this stuff back, in 2005. I
In
think I really started
2005.
listening to Jason
Yeah,
Mraz, yeah, 2010, 2010 or so on, 2009, 2010.
same, yeah. It's the same. I
Yeah.
think with the I'm Yours album, which is 2008.
2008. Okay. Yeah, being the
Yeah.
second studio album, I think there was a lot of pressures on Jason Mraz as well, like coming off the success of the first one. And I think in particular the hits being Remedy, Curbside Prophet, and You and I Both. And he sort of established, I think, this sound, like the Jason Mraz sound, which was sort of, if I had to categorize, I'd put it in like pop rock initially. But with
Mhm.
this album, I think he kind of came out and it's very diverse. So I think he kind of tried to do a lot of different things, particularly if you like compare songs like Wordplay and Mr. Curiosity and then compare that to like Bella Luna, like they're very different songs. They're almost like different genres. And that's why I think
Yeah.
it's a very interesting album because going by the name Mr. A to Z, it really shows you all the different sort of things that Jason Mraz could
Sides of,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, all the different aspects
Like
to his music.
all that he can offer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Well,
was
actually, not all that he can offer, but yeah.
Well, at
Because
least
like
at the
he's really
time, I think this
grown.
was
Yeah, at the
everything that he
time,
had to
sure.
sort of offer. And he's grown over the years, his music sort
Yeah.
of changed as well. But I think I was looking at some of the reviews that came out at the time, and I was surprised to see how mixed the reactions were. So, like, most of the reviews are like 2.5 stars out of five. Rolling Stone gave it 1.5 star out of five. But I suspect some of that is because of, I think, expectations. Because again, coming off like the original, was it Waiting for My Rocket? People were expecting like a specific sound, and this album had some of that, but it also had other stuff. And I guess that could be confusing to you as an audience for as like a second album. But I think
Mhm.
just listening to the songs, I'm a big fan of this album. So suffice to say. But yeah, the reviews, it was a bit surprising for me to see that it wasn't as well received as I thought it would be, because his music is generally more easygoing.
True. Well, as I said, my first song, like talking about confusing, and a confusing album. So one of the songs, which is "Did You Get My Message?" which is the song that my friend sent to me. Like he
Yeah,
messaged me saying like listen to the song, and then I said okay, and then he said it's by Jason Mraz. I was like okay. I
yeah,
mean, I think it wasn't a WhatsApp time, but
yeah.
we were
Probably like,
still messaging.
yeah,
Yeah, that's SMS.
yeah.
So
Yeah, well, that's one of the things with
anyway,
music. It's like it really takes you back in time. Like when you hear an old song that you heard
yeah,
back, you used to listen to
and
back in the
and
day.
he just messaged me the song name, which is "Did you get my message?" with a question
Yeah,
mark, and then I was like,
yeah,
no.
yeah. It's like, are you asking me? Are you
Eventually, I
telling
found
me?
like
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. So I think let's go over like the songs, the track list actually, and we can just sort of, you know, say our thoughts about
Yeah.
each one of the songs. So I think I'll start, and let me know if I miss a song here. But I'll start with, I think Life is Wonderful is the first song. I think it's a great sort of introduction to
Mhm.
the album, you know, sort of overall like a more upbeat and positive sort of tones. And I think just generally about like life and curiosity and twists and turns of life. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, is there anything that,
and love.
yeah, and love. Is there anything else like particularly stands out to you in this track?
It's part of the music which where like it sort of
Yeah,
opens up. Like if you see it visually, it's like the
yeah.
music is like he's singing very softly, and then he just like the music just bursts out, and then so does his
I think I know.
voice.
I think if
So
I had to guess, I think it's like near the halfway mark, right? It's sort of the song sort of
yeah, yeah,
transitions from being a more sort of just guitar based, like singer songwriter song, to, and
yeah.
then you hear all the other instruments, and you know his voice is also, you know, it's much more different. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, I think it sets up the album really well, and then we move on to the next track, which is Wordplay, which I think might be one of the more interesting tracks on this, just because there's like there's a lot of like meta commentary he has in that song on
Yeah.
himself and like his music and like this being the second album and industry pressures and stuff, right?
Yeah. Wordplay. I think wordplay is one of the more played songs because again, like you don't understand many. I mean, he says it also. Like, did you hear a single word I said?
Yeah,
Which is part
yeah.
of the song, and that's
It's
that's
very
actually
self-referential.
also.
Yeah,
I mean, that's basically breaking the fourth wall and
yeah,
in a
exactly.
song, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, you know, I've got some of the lyrics here, and you know, particularly standing out, like he mentions, you know, the sophomore slump is an uphill battle, and sophomore slump is a term, you know, used in the music industry as well. You know,
Yeah.
your second effort or your second year, and so on. And there's like references to his previous song, like "I Got Your Remedy" for those who don't remember me. Um, and it's also like very
And
self,
then
yeah.
the part where he goes like, people write me off like I'm a
I'm a
one hit
one-hit
wonder.
wonder. Yeah. So it's a very fast-paced song. So you have to try and pay attention, which is again a thing he mentions in the song itself. You know, like, are you listening to a single word I said? Like you said.
Yeah.
So it's very self. Like he had a lot of fun with this song. I think he kind of just went all out. He even like mentions critics. You know, he owns up to his sound. Like, I'm the wizard of oohs and ahs and falalas, and so
Palalas.
yeah, I think it's a very interesting song from like a songwriting perspective. But it's very
Mhm.
upbeat, and yeah, it sort of follows on really well from Life is Wonderful. It ends on a very sort of positive note.
Wordplay ends on a ready to face the world kind of note.
Yeah, yeah, almost like Wordplay and Life is Wonderful work together to set up the rest of the album.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, so then we have Geek in the Pink, and I think now, like today, so like with the internet and everything, the geek culture is much more like predominant, and there's like an aspect of like glorifying it, or it's like cool to be a geek. But I think back in 2005, I want to say it wasn't so much so, you know. And
Yeah.
so I think this is the song where he sort of talks about being a geek, but making it sound cool in front of a girl, which is like something a lot of the geeks or some of us back in the day were trying to do.
Try to do.
Yeah. So I do wonder if this song is supposed to, because I don't know, coming off his first album, I suspect most of his audience were sort of the younger like students and you know, university students, college students, and so on, even sort of evident by some of
Hmm.
his early music videos. So it does seem like
Yeah.
this is the song more aimed at his audience, like at his uh, suspected audience. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of confidence in this song.
Yeah. I remember this was I I I danced to this song in a competition
Ooh.
like back in school.
Maybe we'll get to see that on this channel someday.
That,
We'll see, guys. So yeah, there's a lot of confidence in the song, I think, and it's interesting because as confident as this song is, the next song, which is "Did You Get My Message?" It has a lot more anxiety to it. You know, there's a lot of anxiety about
True.
like, did you get my message? Like, did I convey what I wanted to say correctly? Do the
The
words
one
make
I
sense?
sent. Yeah.
Right. It's with a whole new meaning. At least be sympathetic to the time I spent. So like, even if you don't like the message, like consider the time I spent writing
Yeah.
it. So there's a lot of anxiety and nervous sweating, like almost like a nervous breakdown. So I like that transition from like Geek in the Pink, where he's like overly confident and he knows he's almost like, I'm too good for you, to like, did you get my message, where he's just completely nervous and breaking down. And it kind of goes to what I was saying about there being a diverse range of songs in terms of both like the
Mhm.
sound of the song. Although these first four songs do sound more or less similar, but there's also in terms of the content of the song, they're not all about the same thing. They're all looking at things from a different perspective.
I mean, I don't think any of the songs are coherent.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have a single storyline playing. Every single song
Yeah.
is aiming at a different section of or an aspect of life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I suspect, but we'll see towards the end of this video. But I wonder if there was a theme that we were to say that this album has, what would that theme be? It'll be an interesting thing to just talk about towards the end, I suspect.
yeah.
Um,
I think there's a thought about the did you get my message? So basically, at the time, messaging was really a thing. Like,
yeah,
um, I mean, the
texting
network
was becoming
network
very
operators
popular.
and yeah, and network operators were giving like these
Yeah.
free SMS packs and all of that that you can like the
Hmm.
extra tariff that you can get for your phones.
Yeah.
So that so I guess that's why this song caught on, at least in my group. Not like
Yeah.
I'm not saying it
I think, and it
went
goes
on,
back
but
to what
yeah.
we were saying as well about this album sort of Jason Mraz being aware that his audience at the time is mostly sort of the younger generation, like college students and so on.
Mhm.
Because I think again, like, did you get my message is something that perhaps an older person at that in 2005 may not relate to as much. So I think he's very
Yeah,
self-aware of that in his songs and in his sort of choices of like the lyrics and so forth.
yeah.
But yeah, so the next song we have, Mr. Curiosity. I think this is where the album sort of takes a turn to a more sort of, you could say somber, or you could say maybe mellow, in terms of like the tone, the lyrical content as well. I feel like this Mr. Curiosity to me feels like a darker version of Life is Wonderful, the first track, because both the tracks kind of jump from one thing to another, and they're both kind of about life and being curious, but this one's definitely feels a lot more darker, and there's like a sadder tone to it as opposed to Life is Wonderful, don't you think?
It it does talk about killing the cat.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, there is a little bit of
but
helplessness in the
oh,
tone and the way he sings it, and
there's
then
helplessness. Yeah.
there's I love like this operatic element he has. Like, it's a very different song from the first four tracks. Like
Oh
suddenly the
yeah,
album, if you
definitely.
don't look at your phone, it's the first time you're hearing, you might even feel like you've accidentally played a different album, just because it stands out so much. And
Yeah,
and
that bit where that the opera part comes in, that's like, is this the same thing or is this a different thing?
yeah, I feel like if you had heard, if you were in 2005 and you had heard the previous album, you would not. I don't think you'd be expecting this song to be here. Um,
Yeah.
maybe you would, I don't know, but I think it's one of the songs that jumped out to me, at least when I first heard it, and I'm like, is this Jason Mraz? I mean, it sounds like him, but damn, it's a different.
Well, back in 2005, I doubt I had ever heard
Yeah.
opera. So
Yeah. This was like your sort of
this was
introduction
like an
to.
introduction. It was like,
Yeah, yeah, we
okay.
were quite young back then.
Well,
um
didn't understand it, but yeah, sure.
yeah, I saw this thing online where supposedly Mr. Curiosity, it's based off an older song called Taxi, but I can't really find anything else to
Okay.
substantiate it. I just thought it was an interesting point to mention here. And yeah, because I do wonder, the person, at least on the soundtrack, on the album, I think it's someone else singing the operatic parts, at least in parts of the song. Um, but yeah, I'm not
I think
yeah,
so.
I'm not too sure.
I Yeah, I heard it recently, and I don't think that's Jason Mraz.
Yeah. And I think even when he does it live, he usually has like the backup singers singing some of that part. He sings some of it himself as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about, I don't think it's about him not being able to sing, but I think it's more about what the sound that he's going for is. And especially with that piano and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So then from Mr. Curiosity, we kind of take a U-turn again to Clockwatching, which I think is a slightly more upbeat song, sort of about lovemaking and I guess running out of time. And yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of nervousness in that as well. I mean,
Yeah.
much like Mr. Curiosity has
Yeah.
that element of nervousness.
Yeah.
Like
It sort of carries
but
forward
in
from
Clockwatch,
Did You Get My Message to Mr. Curiosity to Clockwatching.
yeah.
Right.
True.
Yeah. And yeah, so then we move on to Bella Luna, which again is a very different song from the rest of the album. And so I actually found this out recently. I saw an interview where he was talking about how he wrote this song. And so apparently it was like he was on a beach and he kind of challenged himself to write a song about the moon. At the same time, he was very aware that this is very cliched and overdone, you know, like singing about the moon. But he kind of just challenged himself to try and do something different, or at least write a song. And I think he said like the aim of this song was to put a twist on his live shows. So when he's doing live shows, suddenly he'll start playing Bella Luna, which is
Yeah.
very different. But I guess it ended up being on the album and being recorded anyway. But yeah, this is the more danceable as well song, I think.
True.
Right.
You can dance solo, you can dance not solo.
Yeah, yeah, really nice track. And then we have Plane, which is again sort of slow, maybe like slightly about heartbreak. I think long distance relationship, perhaps.
There's a part in Plane where it goes towards the rock section,
Yeah.
like with the whole guitar
Yeah.
riff
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Like they introduce a little bit of rock
Yeah.
in it, but otherwise there's a lot of voice acting in Plane.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
it's actually like a plane
Yeah,
crashing.
and the way he sings as well, sometimes it's almost like he's talking, and then it sort of transitions back into singing. I think that's quite. But yeah, it's a much slower, and again I'd say like a somber song compared to the rest of the album, and like about the worst happening, or you know, not being able to sort of see your other half again. I think there's a lot of different ways you can take the lyrics as well, because there's sort of layered meanings. But on the surface, it feels like it's about long distance relationship. Right. So then we can come to another interesting song, Oh Lover. So initially, when I heard this song, I didn't think too much of it. It was just about, I guess, love. But I don't know if you got this, but paying careful attention to the lyrics, I feel like this song is about drugs or like smoking illegal substances. Because and there's a lot of lyrics. So like I've got some lyrics here. So it's like, I know you've got something burning up inside. It's so unhealthy, but so good for me. You know, well, God only knows our contradictions to quitting. It's a hate to love relationship thing.
Yeah.
Then there's I like it natural, no need for chemicals, fogging up my senses. You're making me senseless. You are the sweetest thing I've found since whenever. It's crazy how you're killing me.
There's also the part of fire. There's also the part of fire under you is so fulfilling. I fear there's nothing more.
Exactly right.
I mean, you just light it up.
Yeah,
You
and to give us
light
back a
up this
taste
joy.
when the way things were before they made the laws. So before, you know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those Jason Mraz songs again, where it's like on the surface, it might feel just about, you know, love. But when you dig deeper, I do feel there's more going on there.
There's metaphorical love.
Yeah.
You call it sexual, and you're gonna get yours, my lady.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in that song, and it is coming off of Plane. This is another upbeat, faster paced song, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we.
I mean, Plane gets very emotional.
Yeah.
Maybe like the way he's.
I mean,
voice acting
towards the end, I remember that in Plane, there's a part where his voice is almost like cracking up.
Yeah, and I think O Lover is basically like a contrary view of what Plane was.
Yeah. It's almost like someone going through different mood swings, and then you have all the different moods where it's like you have anxiety, then you have like, nah, I'm super confident, and then you have something like,
Yeah.
oh, lover away, maybe you get a bit too drunk or you smoke up, so it's all like different moods.
Yeah,
And
but it's like, so Bella Luna, Plane, O Lover, and Please Don't Tell Her can be an EP.
yeah, true. They could be like, they have their own sort of themes running through almost.
Yeah.
That's sort of separate from the rest.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, the next song I have here is Please Don't Tell Her, which I think is just about getting over a girl. I don't know if there's anything else in that song that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not, I don't know if it's very evident whether it's about like specifically about a breakup or just asking a girl out who's, maybe not interested in you, but it just feels like it's about getting over a girl is what the lyrics are about, without letting her know how he feels.
And he starts the song in a very whispery, like
Yeah. It's a very intimate way.
Yeah.
So then we have The Forecast, which is another song I think about love and perhaps making love. I didn't dig too deep
That's actually,
in the meaning, but it's a
Forecast is like, it's a very smooth song.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like if you're feeling the rhythm of it, it's a
Yeah.
You really flow into the song.
Yeah, I do want to say it's one of the shorter songs. Yeah, 3 minute 45 seconds compared to the rest, which are slightly longer, I think. Wordplay is the shortest at 3 minutes, but it doesn't feel like it. But yeah, The Forecast is one of the shortest songs.
I mean, Wordplay is the shortest because
There's so much
it's a
packed
lot of
in
words,
a little
but
bit
it's
of time.
so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very dense. And in contrast, I think Forecast isn't as dense whilst being a similar length. It's more like an easygoing, and you could sort of play it.
True.
Yeah. And then we end with Song for a Friend. And one thing, again, I think you might have noticed as well, the intro riff and really the guitar riff throughout, it's really reminiscent of Details in the Fabric. That like the guitar riff that he starts off with.
Yeah.
And that sort of carries forward. So it almost feels like Details, that song was like based off of this song, or it was like an evolution of this song. And I mean, you could take it as a love song, I think, but I think it's mostly a song for a friend, as it says, just sort of appreciating.
If you think about Song for a Friend to be like a preface to Details in the Fabric, I mean, Details in the Fabric is also about a friend, like losing a friend, and like being in trouble and stuff. And
that's
then
for
this
another
is
video.
also a song for a friend.
But no, you're absolutely correct here. I think there's definitely some connection there. It'll be interesting to explore that further, because I haven't listened to both of them like back to back or in that context of and I do wonder if he's ever done a live sort of, he does do these live, like, mashups of his own songs where he joins two of his songs together, or he'll play them back to back with the same sort of ongoing riff. I wonder if he's ever done that with Song for a Friend and Details in the Fabric. Might be worth looking it up later. But I did find, I think there was an interview where he mentioned he wrote this song for his roommate at the time. So it is a sort of more of a platonic song, platonic love. Yeah. And so I think there's 4 bonus songs that are there. I heard one of them. I think Rocket Moon, is it? Is that what it's called?
Rocket Man.
Yeah.
Rocket Man.
Yeah, Rocket Man. And then there's Burning Bridges. There's Prettiest Friend. I haven't really heard these. I'm wondering if you've heard them, if you have any thoughts.
I've only heard Rocket Man.
Rocket Man. What did you think about that? Good.
It's a bonus track.
Yeah. It is. I think it is one of the slower tracks, isn't it? Or I think it just had guitar.
But that's because it's an acoustic version.
Okay. It is specifically acoustic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, summarizing what, I said, I think trying to come up with a theme The only theme I can find is very broad, and I would say life, because it starts off with "Life is Wonderful," and then you have songs like "Mr. Curiosity," which is again sort of about life and about maybe helplessness in life and trying to move
Yeah,
on. And then there's a bit of, there's
I think
some, yeah,
given given the year it was in, like back in the days,
yeah,
it's like life right now,
yeah,
like back in 2005, like
yeah,
going with Geek in the Pink, Wordplay.
yeah, yeah,
I think I think rap was really catching on, and
yeah.
with Wordplay, he went
Yeah,
all out.
it's his sort of version of the rap. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's he's got, you've got songs about life. There's songs about falling in love. There's songs about falling out of love or heartbreak almost,
yeah,
and then you have platonic love in there as well with the last one. So yeah, I
yeah.
think it really covers. It feels like life and love is sort of the theme, but I do wonder whether he sort of envisioned this as one album, like he sat down and he wrote these sort of, how many, 12 songs are there, as like one album, or if
Yeah.
they're just different songs he wrote at different points in his life all tied together under a single album called Mr. A to Z, which again, like I said, because it showcases all the different sort of types of songs he can do.
But then it does connect on the point where it's about life.
Yeah, that is
So
true.
it could be, yeah, it could be that that's just his way of writing,
Yeah,
while also it becomes
yeah,
like an anthology.
yeah. If
So
we ever get Jason Mraz on here and interview him, I'd be really curious to talk to him about this particular album, just because of the way it is. Because if you hear his later albums, even the more recent ones, they do have a more evident theme and a more evident
mhm,
sound. So they'll have a specific sound, and that sound sort of carries forward through the rest of the album, especially in the last two or three
yeah.
albums. And but this album, I think, was the one where it's kind of a bit of everything. And I wonder whether he is that, how much of that was on purpose, how much of that was like happenstance because these are the songs he had ready, or was it on purpose
Mhm.
because of the title Mr. A to Z? Was it like, I'm going to try and show everything I can do in this album? It's, it I'm very curious to what that
Like a
process,
challenge.
yeah, what was
Yeah.
the intent behind the album, is what I'm curious about.
Mm.
Right.
I don't know. We can search for it. Like
Yeah, I'm
maybe
sure
it's
there's some
out there.
interviews and
Maybe
stuff, and
someone
maybe,
asked. Yeah.
yeah, perhaps. I did try and look it up. It's funny because he doesn't. I couldn't find as many interviews back in the day, and I think it's because like YouTube and stuff wasn't really a thing. The only way you really did an interview
Yeah.
was if you got invited to a talk show, and to do that you
Hmm.
had to be kind of a big shot. And then radio shows you were invited to, but they're a bit more difficult to find just because I don't think they've been uploaded to YouTube and stuff. So you have to do like a deeper search. Although,
Yeah.
2005 doesn't feel that long ago, but that was like 16 years ago. So it is difficult to dig stuff up from back then. Most of the interviews I could find were like 2008 or so. But yeah, it would be interesting
Mhm.
to see if he's ever spoken about this album as a whole. Yeah, I mean, if you guys know, put the link in the comments or something. We'll check it out. Yeah, I mean, do you have
Or
so any?
or if you guys
Yeah,
feel anything about the album, like your feelings for the album, so
yeah, we'd
please
love to know.
comment.
So, do you have any sort of final thoughts on this?
Um, well, Wordplay would be my highlight of the album,
Yeah, I
but
agree. Same.
I I think what Wordplay tries to say is, did you get my message?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Yeah, I think one more thing to add is if someone hadn't somehow ever heard of Jason Mraz and they were like, I want to, what's an album you'd recommend? Even though that's not really how we listen to songs anymore. But if they were buying an album or they were like, I want to listen to one album, I think this is the album I'd recommend just because there's so much variety in here. I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. And so I feel like if you listen to this album, you kind of really get a feel for Jason Mraz as a sort of singer, songwriter, or sort of just an artist. And it really
Yeah,
showcases, and then you can sort of use this to then judge what other music from him you want to listen to, right? It's a good starting point for his music. So yeah,
True.
I think that about sums it up. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back very soon with, I think it's going to be another album discussion video. And we'll probably be doing a concert video as well soon. But until then, yeah, let us know in the comments what you've been listening to. See you next time.
Is it other boy?
Jason Mraz's first song was the. Okay, I forgot that song. Yeah. It's from We Sing We Dance.